Welcome back to the Leaving a Rich Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Rich, and this podcast is more than just a series of conversations. It's a love letter to my younger self and to anyone seeking courage and empowerment within the layers of our shared experiences in the Black and Brown community. Now, in our new series, I Choose Me, we're going to have an opportunity to dive deeper into the transformative journeys of our incredible guests who have bravely made the choice to put themselves first. So, together we'll unpack the conversations that we often don't hear in the Black community, but celebrate the power of self love, resilience, and authenticity. So, join me as we amplify these vital stories so each of us can leave a richer legacy for the generations to come. So, today our special guest is Lucinda Cross, and I am super excited for her to share her journey of how she chose herself and the impact that she's made in the community by making herself a priority and choosing what success and happiness looks like for her. Lucinda, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here, and I love the title of this talk.
You. Well, we're going to jump right into it and just learn a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Lucinda Cross?
Whew, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Mom of three, I call them three dragons. Mom of three, mother at heart, really, and I really have to take that title, but mother at heart, big sister, auntie to many of my mentees, and just someone who really stands up for women who don't believe in themselves. They think their last chapter is their last story. And so I really help women. And this is part of who I am because I had to be my own client, but really supporting women and young girls with just speaking their truth and standing in their power. So I'm a girly's girl.
Girly's girl. I love that. So, can you tell us just a little bit about you talk about women, empowering women and girls, what you're doing to empower them?
So some of the things that I do, like I focus on three pillars, really four. One is entrepreneurship, empowerment, education, and the other one is I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. But it's also helping them with, just preparing themselves for the education. I don't know if I mentioned that. So education is career, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. And so just supporting them in identifying their goals. Young girls often are not goal focused in terms of personal goals. They think of school, they think of everything else. And I'm saying, but what about you? What are some of the things that you desire to do, whether it's drink more water, grow your hair, exercise more? And so I really tap into helping them at an early age to hold on to those goals and take them in bite-sized pieces.
I love that. You mentioned about, the four pillars that you have when you're focusing on the community that you have, but I want to talk about what does it mean to activate your life? I think that's a powerful statement. I think that's a powerful mission, but I would love to know what that means to you and how would you say it ties into empowering one to choose themselves?
Mm. So as the president, I have to say the former president of the procrastination committee, I realized how procrastination and perfectionism was holding me back from activating my own life. So either I was overthinking or either I was just trying to, well, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. And so when I would talk to my male peers and friends and even my mentor, I noticed they have no problem going for what they want with less qualities, qualifications, the list goes on. And I said, I need to adopt this and share this. How do I activate my own life so I'm not putting myself on the back burner? My list, my agenda, my day to day, my weeks. I started doing something called Edit Your Life. And what I did was I said, let me just monitor what I do for 30 days, and what does that look like? And 80% of my 30 days was on about everybody else, and 20% was about me. And probably half of that uh, was still connected to other people, places, and things. And so I really made a declaration to myself to say, Lucinda, stop overthinking, stop overanalyzing, stop procrastinating. It doesn't have to be perfect. When are you going to hit the activate button on the things that you desire to do? And learned a hard lesson by missing a major financial opportunity to partner up with a big organization when I first started out. And it was all because of procrastination and perfectionism. And I told God, I made a vow. I said, God, once I get out of this storm, because after the procrastination and the perfectionism and missing the opportunity and watching it go to someone, I hate to say this term, but less qualified, all they had was a yes. Yes, I'm willing to learn. Yes, let's put this together. And they was willing to figure it out along the way, where I had full qualifications, and I basically created what the system would look like. And I just said, you know what? Let me just work on this one more time. Let me fix this again. And I missed out. And I said, God, if you give me another opportunity, I'm going to activate. And from that moment, I said, no, I'm hitting the activate button. And I bet you there's some other women like me who's missing out on what they want because they're not saying, let me just step out there.
So I can relate. I am shaking my head because I can absolutely relate in the community that I work with. A lot of that is women within my business, but then also in the corporate space,
Mm,
as women, we will second guess ourselves, knowing that sometimes we're not just qualified, but overqualified,
come on.
but won't take that next step.
Yeah.
For anyone that's struggling with that, is there anything that you can share that you felt like you are intentional about to make sure that you stay in a place where you can say, like, go for it, activate your life, don't hold yourself back?
Right. Because you know what, to be honest, and I know you can relate to this, it's easier said than done. Like telling someone, take action, activate, go ahead and do it. And we can do that for others, but we don't do it for ourselves. But on the flip side, there's some deep rooted stuff going on with someone who's not willing to take action and activate. And some of those deep rooted challenges come from childhood. For me, my mother was an extreme perfectionist. Lucinda, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. And so growing up, God rest her soul, I love her. I love her daily because she always showed. Now I take it as, let me show up as my best self, and I'm not going to come out halving it, right? But growing up and getting into business and getting into even corporate America, it was, I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. I need to have more. Another certificate, another degree, another training, another workshop, another conference. And I had to stop and say, I am literally sitting on my own power. So, anyone who is challenged with that, where is this deep rooted issue coming from, or this deep rooted challenge coming from? Pull that thing up and get rid of it. Does it come from parenthood? Does it come from past relationships? Does it come from not feeling like you fit in? Does it come from your fear of making mistakes? Right. And so, if we're able to address it and say, you know what, this thing has been holding me back because I'm too worried about what other people are going to think. I'm not going to share this because I'm too busy, worried about what they're going to say. You really have to get into what I call the effort mode. Faith it, figure it out, find it, focus on it. So all the F's, drop some F bombs on yourself and say, you know what? And I had to say, Lucinda, just faith it. Lucinda, just focus on it. Lucinda, you'll figure it out. Lucinda, find a way. And I had to look at ways to push myself past the fear of, this is not enough. I'm not enough. This is not right. And it's a habit that you have to form. So be open for anyone who's listening. Open up yourself to make mistakes. It's all right. This is our first go round on this earth, unless you need to tell us something different. But this is our first go round. So no one can define failure and messing up and mistakes for Lucinda. This is my first time around. And if this is your first time around, either you're going to add some wisdom to help me move forward, or you're not in your position of activating and you may try to distract me because you haven't done anything. You're not in a position of believing in yourself. So we have to be very careful. And at this point, take small steps. And one of those steps, and I know I might have said a lot, is to just start doing things that don't make sense. And you're activating when they're like, really? Oh, you're going there? Oh wow, you're changing the color of your hair?
So from your experience of, you
Mhm.
know, I'm gonna change it here, you're just gonna do it. How do you feel like society, were there any pressures for you stepping out and just doing it and you feeling obligated that you have to meet a certain expectation or standard that wasn't in line with that?
I had to stop looking outside for approval and acceptance and say I'm willing to start this business as a single mom with a degree and a great paying job, and everybody's going to think I'm crazy. But I believe in this thing enough that I'm going to step out, right? And so I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to activate. I'm not, and I don't recommend this for anyone, but I'm just saying my points of view is just it's therapeutic. It really is. It's therapeutic. I hope I answered your question. I think I kind of veered off. I was about to go on a whole tangent because one thing that I'm really driven to is pushing women to just say yes to themselves, and that seems like the hardest thing. Sometimes I can't even get women to write down 10 things they want for themselves for the year.
So when I think about this series of I Choose Me and you telling us about how you chose yourself, saying yes is a huge part of that. Because we often, especially as women, we just want to pour into everyone else. And a
Mhm.
lot of times we will neglect ourselves. So, is there a pivotal moment in your life where, and you talked about before, like looking at some of your male coworkers and peers, but was there a pivotal moment in your life when you just said, I have to say yes to myself?
Ooh, this is, the one of the toughest decisions I've made, saying yes to myself, was saying no to my husband. No,
Mm.
this marriage is not no longer working for me. And I no longer want to stick in it just because we have kids. This is not working for me. I'm not happy here. And going through that divorce, and he's an amazing man. We co-parent extremely well. We're like best friends now. But that was probably the toughest pivotal moment for me to step out and say, and guess what? I'm not even asking you for anything. I'm just grabbing my stuff, my babies, and we're gonna figure this out together. But it went from I want a separation to I want a divorce, and that was probably one of the toughest things to do because people would look and, oh, this is black love. We love how y'all support each other. We love this, and I didn't want the stigma attached to going through a divorce and being a single mom. But it, it was one of the best decisions that I could have made just for my peace. And I became a better mom. I became a better mom. I became a better sister. I became a better life coach. I became a better speaker. It just changed and opened up a whole world that I didn't even know existed inside of me. And so that was tough, but it was needed.
So I think of you speaking about having to make a decision to say yes to yourself in your marriage, which led to a divorce, and thinking about Black love. And I'm a single woman. So when I think about society and society standards, I should be married by now and have children,
Mhm.
right? But you were able to make a decision that was difficult. And you knew that it may have not been what society wanted or others, but you chose yourself. So when you think about what success and happiness once looked like for you, when you were younger, how would you define success and happiness now in your life compared to when you were younger?
When I was younger, it was having the family, having the Barbie and the Ken life. I need the Barbie and the Ken life. The happy home, the White House, the picket fence, the dog, the children. So that's what I was raised up on. Every time you turn around, they're shoving a baby doll in your hand. And not so much, oh, what are you gifted at? What's your skills? Do you want to use your crafts? Versus, and so I felt as if, and I grew up in a two-parent household, so I felt as if I stepped out of that lane. And even education wise, a lot of my aunts, the women in my family, highly successful, highly educated, but all hated their jobs. So I followed suit. What do? We go and get multiple degrees and we hate our job and we work there for 33 years, and then we end up getting a part-time job in a library. And so it's like, so but now saying yes to myself, to entrepreneurship, something that was different than what I grew up on, it's a whole different life. It's a life of traveling, living, loving, um, figuring out, who my children are, and I can look back and say, did my mother even have time, or some of the families and how I grew up, did they have time to even look and see who are the people that you brought into this earth? Do you understand who they are? And so the entrepreneurship afforded me that. Well, rather saying yes, I can't say entrepreneurship, saying yes to myself afforded me that. And I had to make sacrifices to get there. Those were my sacrifices. It may look different for someone else, but those were mine.
So when I think about you mentioning the degrees, right, and the certifications to get all the things
Mhm.
um, that I feel like, especially as a Black woman, like I need to say that I'm successful or that I'm qualified, and sometimes having being an overachiever because I feel like I just have to work harder than everyone else to be on the same playing field. And in your success of going from the corporate space and starting a business and being an entrepreneur in this community, you hold a lot of titles and a lot of roles. And you're also pouring into your family, you're pouring into the women and the girls within your organization. How do you make time for yourself? Self-care is huge for me. I'm a self-care advocate.
Mhm.
And it's something that I value and I've learned to really value over the last several years. But how do you prioritize self-care to make sure that your cup is full?
Good, good. So I always make sure, for me, at first, when I started my self care journey, I thought it was everything on the outward. Oh, am I working out? Am I slimming down? My skincare, my hair, my nails, are all those things. And those are all fine. And even the certifications and multiple degrees, those are amazing. And you see, I didn't even mention any of that when you asked me about me. But for me, self-care now looks like giving myself grace, being able to say, I don't need to attend 300 events. I can say no. I don't need to say yes to everything that comes through my text message. I don't need to show up at every function and event. I can give myself some grace. I need to rest. I want to read. I want to journal. How about I just want to do nothing? And so for me, the self-care is giving myself time. I love, I have a brook near my house. I love going over by the brook and just sitting there and listening to the water. I love sometimes turning up my music and refolding and reorganizing my underwear drawer, and so that's, I love to go sit and take a bath, and not to take a bath so I can take a selfie, but let me just take a bath and relax and soak, and sometimes just listen to worship music, so it's, for me, it's whatever I feel like doing, giving myself grace to do it. I don't need anyone to take me out on a date, take me to lunch. I'll do it myself. If I want to try a new restaurant, I do it myself. So that's my self-care routine. I do what I want when I want, if I'm capable of it at the time.
I love that. And to understand that it's not always what's going on physically or externally, but really how you pour it into yourself internally. You mentioned at the beginning when you talked about who you were, you did not mention the degrees and certifications. Can you elaborate why you specifically did not mention that when you identified and defined who you were?
Because I think, in this time, we need to hear from, I can mention all of those things, but that doesn't define the passion that I have. So, and my purpose, so to speak. So those things come and go, and it's great having TV accolades and radio and, best-selling books and things like that. But what does that really mean when I have to go into a juvenile detention center to sit with a young girl and talk to her about her plans when she comes home, or how her situation at home is toxic and she prefers to stay there versus going home. Or when I have a woman who is going through domestic violence and she's trying to figure her way out. And so when we look at the purpose of it, do they really care about the Lifetime Achievement Award from Barack Obama? No. But when they find out, they're like, oh. But I want you to, you know, love my purpose first, and we can focus on the applause later.
Mm, that's good. That's really good. How would you say your upbringing shaped you into the person you are today to walk in your purpose?
Well, being the oldest, I have three brothers. They're all grown men now, but being the oldest and the only girl, it showed me a level of independence and nurturing that has supported me even now, right? And it has supported me in understanding individuals. So, and what I mean by that, my mother was a double psychology major. So I was her guinea pig. So we went through creative visualization, which is known now as vision boards. We went through meditation and mind mastery. And so that, how to control your emotions, how to, change, understanding the importance of tone when you're talking to someone and having difficult conversations. And so that has shaped me as a speaker, and it has helped me tremendously when it's time to negotiate my worth and value, as well as connecting with women on a different level where they don't feel as if I'm coming from a place of judging or, oh my God, that's what you did, or what do you mean you don't have a savings, so it's not coming from that place. It's coming from a solution based, and that's how I was brought up. What's the solution? We can all focus on the problems, but what's the solution?
And the interactions that you have with the juvenile girls or women in general, you say you want them to fall in love with the mission and purpose and not so much about the accolades. As I've interacted with a lot of Black women, sometimes we struggle with celebrating ourselves. And you've
Mm.
done a lot and achieved a lot. How do you celebrate yourself, or do you?
As any award, certificate, any small accomplishment, and all jokes aside, it's like I'm having a showdown. It's like, guess what, kids? I got a grant. It's time to celebrate. And so I always have some form of small celebration because I want them to learn to celebrate themselves. And then I always invite some women, some close friends as well. But I make a big deal of it from me because each piece, each step, anytime I'm acknowledged, considered, recognized, I'm like, this is a big deal. You see me because I see myself. This is great. This means that I'm doing the work I need to do.
You see me because I see myself. In listening to you, you said you want your kids to know why it's important to celebrate yourself. So for you, can you kind of explain why it's important for them to see you celebrating yourself in hopes of instilling that in them?
Yeah, so I don't want them to fall into. There was a point, especially when I was in corporate America, the overachiever, that being challenged with being an overachiever is a heavy weight, heavy crown to carry. And I don't want them to focus on being an overachiever. It's okay to celebrate a good grade. It's okay to celebrate a small win. Okay, your team lost, but how many points did you get? Okay, great. Do you feel like you did your best? All right, that's a good thing. What can you work on next? So instead of them focusing on being an overachiever, they're looking at ways to continue to improve, but also celebrating what they've already done. And oftentimes, it's like, okay, that's great. You got a B. Next time you get an A. So my mother wasn't impressed with that. It's like, what happened? It's a B. You couldn't push that to a B plus. You get the B plus. It's like, well, I mean, you're on a sliding scale of an A. What happened? You're not focused. So I don't want them to. It's great to push them to their greatness for me with my where and focusing with my children, but I know the weight that it put on me growing up. And I don't want them to grow up to be an overachiever. I want them to be able to celebrate themselves. Life is short. We don't know when, we don't know how. We're all traveling this journey to the same destination. So while you're here, I tell them, celebrate these things. And I'm going to celebrate you. We shouldn't have to wait till an elected holiday or birthday. My kids will tell you right now, you don't have to wait for your birthday for us to celebrate you. We don't know if, some people don't make it to their next birthday, so it's how can we celebrate you for where you are and who you are right now in different moments, of course, within reason. It's not like we're just throwing a whole big concert, but it's just letting them know, you're doing great. And, hey, I'm happy that you're my daughter. Let's go on a mommy and daughter date because she's the only girl. So, it's small things, small steps that I try to instill in my children.
I love that. And that you're intentional about celebrating yourself, including your friends, but then also helping your kids see how important that is, even if it's, hey, next time, right? You got a B, but we'll get that A. But let's
Mhm.
celebrate the B. Let's celebrate the 10 points that you scored. So I think
Yeah.
that's very important for the next generation, for us to be examples and show them why that's so important.
Society already places this status, and the bar can go low and it can go high at any moment. And I don't want them to feel like they have to fit within that bar. Well, you have to be this kind of low, or you have to be this kind of high, or you have to do this, or you have to look this certain type of way. Society will always have, you're not tall enough, you're not short enough, you're not light enough, you're not dark enough, you're not thin enough, so for me, they already have that when they step outside the house. And so I try to help them, one, make improvements and see how they can push themselves without the heavy weight, but also you don't have to fit within that status. You can create your own bar and raise it.
So with that being said, because you are in a lot of spaces, you're connected with a lot of people, you've achieved a lot within your organization and speaking and just all the successes that you've had. And with that, I would assume comes with a lot of pressure, potentially, of what others in society feel like you should be or should
Hmm.
be doing. Can you share how you've managed to stay true to yourself despite some of those outside influences or pressures?
Yeah, one, thank God for my mentor because outside of me having, my own vision and mission, there's also others that'll come in and say, well, you're great at this and you should do that. You're great at cooking. You should start, a baking business. You're great at skin, and so dealing with others who have it'll bring you into shiny object syndrome and you don't know which way you're going. And then you're doing so many things that you're not focusing on the main thing. And so I had to, thanks to my mentor, he's someone who was able to wheel me back in to say, okay, how does this support the financial goal you set? How does this support the program you're working on? Okay, well, you have a goal with this program. Let's complete that first, and let's see if you still want to do that. And so he would have me create two separate journals, one for the plan that I'm working on and one for these bright ideas that I may want to visit. And I could tell you, all the bright ideas of that others said that I should do more of, become more of that, try this out. Those never worked out. I never even went into that lane. I stayed in my focus book, but he would have me write them down and he said, "Let's see if it makes sense after you accomplish this goal." And so that's what helped me stay level-headed when everybody has their opinions and thoughts and directions and instruction.
What role has having a mentor played in your success? I think sometimes it can be difficult to welcome in new people when you are looking to transition or pursuing something, especially if you struggle with, building relationships or connecting, which I don't have a doubt you don't have that problem. But just when you think about the role a mentor has played, What impact has that had in your success and your journey?
The wisdom, tremendous impact with him providing. I had two mentors, them providing wisdom. They shortened my learning curve by 10 years. So they were able to help me avoid rerouting and falling into potholes and loopholes in my business and even in my personal development journey as a leader, because they've been down that road, and they were able to give me trusted, sound advice that made sense, and I seen how it worked for me. And so it shortened the learning curve. So instead of, you know, going down and wasting 10 years trying to figure it out, it was a nice direction of an instruction on what's next and what makes sense and what to try. And it saved me money and it saved me time.
10 years is a lot of time. A lot of time. You've mentioned several times about, you being a leader, and I know that's a part of your journey. Can you share with us what was that pivotal moment for you that you realized it was time to transition from being a leader into full-blown entrepreneurship?
So really the leadership stepped in when I was in full blown entrepreneurship, but I would see pieces of it when I was working in corporate America. But and it's crazy how it would happen, coming up with different strategies. I was in risk management and performance improvement, and just my input, I would see the impact that it would provide to the company, to the organization as a whole, but I was receiving no credit for it. And the people who would bring it to the table, to the board meetings, it's the applause, it's the raises, it's the annual reviews that were amazing. And behind the scenes, those ideas and those concepts and strategies came from me. And so here I was, the lowest paid with the greatest ideas. And so I was able to really exercise that in my own journey and receive and see how the impact, and how great of a leader I was. There was times where no, I'm not a leader. Yes, I am. I was able to lead teams, support, save money for these organizations, new ideas, concepts, and initiatives, and no credit at all, and nothing to feel good about. So the leadership really tapped in once I ventured into entrepreneurship.
And you said the least paid, but with the greatest ideas. And I feel like a lot of people probably can relate to being in a position where you bring a lot to the table, you have those ideas, and you don't get the credit. One of the things that I think is important working specifically in corporate America for myself is having boundaries in the workplace. And a
Mm,
part of that comes with being able to say, hey, this was my idea. And I think a healthy boundaries comes with healthy communication
yes.
in the workplace to be able to articulate what happened, how it made you feel, and next time, how can we work together to collaborate and make sure that the credit is there? So, from your experience, have you implemented any boundaries to ensure that you get the credit in things that you do?
No, not when I was in corporate America. The communication was low. It was a fear of speaking up and speaking out, and having a target on my back. And the one time that I did, because I bottled so much in, uh, after the meeting, she called me to her office and she said, "Do I need to print out your job description?" And I said, "Excuse." She said, "Do I need to print out your job description?" I said, "No." She said, "Okay, because I just want to remind you, because you brought this up to me, that you would also, want to be a part of the project and support it, but maybe you're not understanding what your job is here." And I said, "Okay, 2 week notice is coming up. 2 week notice is coming up because I'm not going to sit here for another 10 years watching you get bonuses, climbing the chart, and I'm stuck here. behind this desk. That's not going to work for me. But I did not create boundaries and I did not use effective communication. And I wasn't clear as well, even stepping in to find out how the process works. So I didn't understand my own value. And by the time I recognized it, it didn't come across well.
From that experience, is there anything that you do today to ensure that you don't feel that way or that you're intentional about the communication?
Yes, I'm very clear on what I will do, what I won't do, how much things cost, what my expectations are, so everything is written down either in a memorandum of understanding, either it's my talent sheet, it's a conversation. Okay, what are your expectations? Okay, here's what my expectations. So now I try my best to be extremely clear, and it allows some flexibility and understanding. So it's a win-win. No one is over promising and under delivering. No one has unmet expectations or expectations that are like, really, you thought that's what I was going to do? You thought I was going to fly on the stage and okay, yeah, that's not going to work. But so now it's not only having the boundaries, really the boundaries are for myself, and saying, okay, Lucinda, can you afford to do this? Is this something you want to do? What are you looking to get out of this? How can you truly support them? And what do you need to effectively support them? And how much are you willing to bend?
Having boundaries in the workplace, I think is very important, but also having boundaries in our personal lives is also important
Mm,
to make sure we have that work-life harmony to pour into
mm.
ourselves, regardless of the hats that we wear. So when you think about self-care and boundaries just overall, has it been challenging for you to implement boundaries in your personal life as well?
Yes, because people oftentimes see boundaries as a border. Oh, you're drawing a line in the sand, you're putting your walls up. And so it'll come off as if you are being defensive or closed off. And it's no, this is a boundary. It's a clear boundary. It creates a safe space for us to grow and build from here. Without the boundary, there's disrespect. So we need the boundary. And it's not a wall, it's not a border, it's not a line in the sand. It's allowing us to have open and effective communication and also be able to receive and to give in a space where no one feels used or taken advantage of. And that's personally, professionally, relationships, sometimes you just feel like it's one-sided and it's, some people come off very selfish and they don't understand that. Some people don't realize that they're being selfish or coming off selfish. So it's really important to be clear on that, but understanding that some people may see it, and I've seen that people felt as if, oh, you're putting your walls up, or did I offend you? And it's like, no, you, I'm fine. Like seriously, I'm fine. But because the boundary is placed there, it's, oh, you know, some people can't respect it, but that's because they don't have boundaries themselves.
So one thing that I observed and just researching a lot of the amazing things that you've done. And I'll say that you're truly an inspiration for someone who is in the corporate space and also is a business owner and coaching and looking to empower other people. And I just have to highlight that listening to your story and how you have chosen to pour into others and just these girls and women, I was blown away by the fact that you've been able to impact over 10,000 women and help create over 2,500 small businesses. That is a significant accomplishment, and it truly is a test to the work that you're doing. But I have to say, I think that also is a direct impact of you choosing yourself to be able to pour into yourself and then pour into others. When you think about all of the things that you're doing and the results that you're getting, which I know that's not the you want to get results and you want to be in line with your purpose,
Mhm.
but How has you directly, intentionally just saying, I am going to choose Lucinda. I am going to choose this purpose. I'm going to follow God's will for my life. How has it contributed to your success?
It allowed me to create a tribe that I feel comfortable being connected to. I was looking for sisterhood, one of the best neighborhoods, by the way. I was looking for sisterhood and connection. And so with the work, it was able to foster one of the big things that I stand on is collaboration, right? And it's hard to do when you're in a place of competition, when you're in the sea of sameness. Everybody's trying to look alike, be alike, do alike. And so creating and being a part of a community on purpose, purposefully creating a tribe of women who understood that we collaborate here, we partner, we support. It fostered a nice playground for me in my life, personally and professionally. But so the greatest reward is watching these other women, and those numbers only climb because we made sure we made sure. And when I say we, myself and the team and volunteers and other mentors, the essence and the core of Activate Worldwide, or even my nonprofit Activate Your Life, is how do we begin to collaborate and partner? Let's not do this alone. There's no I when you come inside of this tribe. We all look how we can support one another, uplift one another. There's absolutely no gatekeeping. And if you're a gatekeeper, you'll feel very uncomfortable and you'll find a way to ease yourself out. But it's this sisterhood is what I needed, and that was the reward. And watching the numbers climb let me know that being intentional about collaborations and partnerships with women without them even realizing it, strategically putting experiences and events together where it fostered collaboration and partnership, it fostered accountability. That was the big win, and it still is.
I love that you highlighted collaboration, and it's not a competition. We can do more together versus doing it alone, and opening up that environment to embrace sisterhood is huge, because I meet a lot of women who felt like they've never experienced that. And I can't imagine being where I am in life without having sisterhood, not just my biological siblings, but the women in my life that are part of my community and my tribe and who pray for me and who uplift me. I couldn't imagine not having them to be a part of this journey and where I am today. So when you think about, you being intentional about collaboration, is there anything else along your journey that has inspired you?
Hmm. Besides the women, because there wouldn't be an Activate without these women. It wouldn't have been, because the upliftment and the authenticity. Authenticity has no competition, but the authenticity just really fueled me. So the only thing that I can think of at this point is, it a lot of it for me, as the only girl of three brothers and grown up in a very male dominated household and environment. Therapy was everything, because that's not how I started with wanting a sisterhood, wanting to work with women. That's not how I started, because I felt I would watch and see how women treated other women badly, and it closes you off. But men don't do that, and I watched that, with my mentor and other business coaches. I've watched that, even in corporate America. They stick together. They Even if they don't agree, even if things don't work out with them, the job is going to get done. The purpose is going to get fulfilled. They're not going to drop the ball. And if they do, they'll talk about it later, but you'll still see them getting the job done together. And so, yeah, I wouldn't even. I wouldn't even be where I'm at. And if any woman is hesitant and trying to find that tribe, do what I did. If you don't see it, create it. If you don't have it, put it together, and it starts with small steps. It started with 10 women paying $7 to attend an experience that morphed into something that I couldn't even imagine to this day that still support me. So, and they support each other. But if you don't see it, create it.
I love that you said therapy because therapy has been a huge part of my journey. And a part of this podcast is to encourage others to not be afraid to go to therapy because it's not often talked about in the Black community, or there's this perception about telling somebody all of your business and what they'll do with it. And I love that you mentioned that because I know one of your four pillars is mental wellness. And
Mm,
it's so important when I think about the next generation and me being someone who wants to create generational patterns
mm.
positively for the next generation. So spot on. I love it. I love that. So, for anyone who is struggling with prioritizing themselves, they feel guilty about it. Do you have any advice based on your experiences and lessons learned?
Yes, feel the guilt and do it anyway. There's the mom guilt. I hear it from a lot of mom entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, I call them, that feel the guilt and do it anyway. You still have to choose you because the kids are watching. If if you don't have children, you still have to choose you and still feel that the guilt is going to be there only because you have to retrain and create a new habit. If you're feeling the guilt, it means that you haven't loved on yourself enough. It means that you haven't honored yourself enough. It means that you haven't forgiven yourself enough, oftentimes. And so when that guilt is there, when you start to, the guilt will get small. It may be loud now, but in my experience, that loud noise, because guilt, they come in like a whole choir. It's like, hey, you shouldn't do this. Hey, you should feel bad about that. Why would you spend the money on this? Oh, you're doing this by yourself. Oh, you didn't call your best friend. Oh, you're a bad person. So it's loud and proud. And so the more you begin to take more love action steps, the more you begin to really, not even, for me it wasn't going to the mirror, and this is me personally speaking affirmations. Those are great, that works for some people. For me it was, oh, Lucinda, you've got this today, go for it, you're amazing. That didn't work for me. I really had to show up like I was amazing even if I didn't feel like it. And the guilt of saying no, I'm not able to watch your kids. I'm not available. And even if that not available was me just laying in my bed binge watching a Netflix series, I had to get over that to say this is what I choose to do right now. This is so the guilt is not being comfortable with saying yes to you and being more comfortable to say yes to others and not being comfortable enough to say no to others. And so we have to flip the switch. It's okay to say no to people. It's okay to not have to show up to all the things. It's okay to not be available and for people to have access to you all the time when they want. You don't need to respond to a DM in the first 15 seconds. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm going to brush my teeth. I don't need to respond to this text message right now. Let me focus on my teeth. And at that point, you're saying, ooh, my teeth is getting whiter. Ooh, healthy gums. Ooh, my teeth is still here. So that at that moment, you may do your gratitude. That's what I did. But, so feel the guilt and do it anyway until the guilt until the guilt becomes a whisper.
No guilt. I'm so happy I had a chance to really talk to you and hear your journey and story of how you chose yourself, how you're choosing yourself, and also you're empowering others to do the same. So I have one more question for you, which is my favorite question of the entire podcast. And it is, if you could have a conversation with your younger self, what would you tell her?
Mm, my younger self, I would tell her, enjoy your childhood. enjoy being a kid. Yeah. And
Enjoying
I have to
childhood.
flip it on you because one question I always ask when, individuals who's on my panel, if you don't mind, what would you tell your older self?
That's a good one. I would
Your older
tell
self.
her that you're okay. A lot
Mm,
of things that I do is a reflection of me reacting from my younger self. So I'm overworking, trying to get all the certifications and degrees for things that I feel like I'm making up for. And I have to be intentional now to say we're okay, we're good.
mm,
Enjoy life.
mm. That's good. That's good. That's my favorite question.
I love it. I love it. But no, I have absolutely just enjoyed hearing about you, the amazing things that you are doing for women and girls, but most importantly, that despite everything that you're doing, that you are pouring into yourself. And it is so important for us to choose ourselves daily, make ourselves a priority. So I thank you for just sharing a little bit about you. And I just want to ask, is there a way that we can connect with you after this interview? If anyone would like to connect with you, donate to what you're doing, how can we reach out?
Absolutely. They can go to find out more information about me and connect with me. You can go to lucindacross.com. And if you're interested in finding out information about my nonprofit, you can go to activateyourlife.org. And I'm on LinkedIn, so I love LinkedIn connections. So connect with me on LinkedIn, Lucinda Cross. And yeah, that's the best
All
way.
right, Lucinda. Well, I appreciate you. I will drop those as well for them to be able to click them. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for choosing yourselves. And until the next episode, I will talk to you all later. Thank you.